Hello to everyone watching and welcome to Pimp My Slides. This is a presentation, a part of the NCBOLD digital learning series. For a copy of this slideshow, feel free to use the bit.ly link below or to scan the QR code on the right. Before we get started, I'd like to tell you a little bit about me. My name is Matt Daniel, and I'm a fifth grade teacher at Sam D. Bundy Elementary School, which is in Farmville, North Carolina, in Pitt County. I am a triplet. I'm the triplet brother to Maddie and Megan, as seen below. I am a huge Pirate athletics fan. I attended East Carolina University, where I still work as a statistician for the East Carolina football, men's basketball, and women's basketball teams. And I was recently named Pitt County Schools Teacher of the Year. If you would like to connect with me on Twitter, my handle is on the bottom left screen at Matt Daniel with not one, not two, but 3 underscores because apparently I was a little late to joining the Twitter game. As far as our agenda for today, I'm very excited to help you hone some skills when it comes to using slideshow software. The brunt of what I'm using today is going to be through Google Slides. However, it's important to know that other programs like Keynote, Microsoft PowerPoint, among others, typically have the same capabilities. We're first going to highlight today's focus question and the goals for our session. Number 2 is mainly for my face-to-face sessions. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over some basic functions of slideshows. And then lastly, we're going to learn how we can get creative with presentation software, whether that's compiling resources, making a choice board, taking kids on learning journeys, or really boosting engagement and collaboration. So today's focus question: how can teachers and instructional staff use presentation software to take students on learning journeys, compile resources for study, expand student choice, and boost engagement and collaboration? Presentation software can be used beyond the simple sharing of information, and that's really what today's session is all about. What other ways can you think these apps can be used as seen in this focus question? Well, I've hidden some other ways in which we can use presentation software in this question, and I'm wondering if maybe you picked up on it. These would be the things that I highlighted in the agenda that are also highlighted here in the focus question that we're really going to talk about today. How can we use presentation software to take kids on learning journeys, to compile resources for study, to expand student choice, and to boost engagement and collaboration? Again, this is a poll, which is mainly going to be used for my face-to-face session, but that doesn't mean you can't pause and reflect. Whatever your role may be at your current school or maybe your future school, are you an administrator? Are you an instructional coach? Are you a classroom teacher? How or in what ways have you used presentation software already? Have you used it to present information? Probably. And is that okay? Absolutely. That's pretty much what it's for. But also wonder if you've maybe used this or thought about using presentation software in a different way. Before we break down different ways to use presentation software, I'd like to show you some basic slideshow functions, as I feel like no one can ever be too familiar with the capabilities that apps such as these have. The first thing we're going to talk about is choosing from templates and layouts. Going to escape here. So in this slideshow, I was given a specific layout, and a specific theme / template. And from there, I can click this button right here, this drop-down box, and it's going to give me a variety of different slide layouts that I can choose from that would best fit my needs. The theme is obviously going to change based on what you have selected. So for example, don't tell the folks at DPI, but I'm going to change this theme even though I was told not to do that. You can choose from different themes here. I'd also invite you to look up downloadable Google Slides templates from any website. Particularly there's some websites, if you Google free Google Slides templates, you can download them and save copies of them and use those in your slideshow as well. Let's say I wanted to use this theme, all I'd have to do is click on it. But I'm going to quickly undo here because I was told not to change the layout of this particular presentation. The next thing I'd like to show you is changing the background. So let's say maybe instead of thinking about a particular theme, you wanted to change the background to something else. Well, you've got a few options. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm in my edit mode. You cannot edit any of the presentation when you are in the slideshow mode here. Whenever you click, it's going to assume that you want to travel to the next slide. So whenever you're making any revisions, you're going to want your screen to look like this. If you are on a PC, computer, or laptop, you are going to right-click on a blank area on your screen. If you're using a Mac, for example, I'm using a MacBook right now, a laptop, you're going to click with 2 fingers. From here, you should see the option that says Change Background. One thing that I want to make clear, a lot of people have trouble getting this to pop up, and lots of times it's because you're clicking on an image or you're clicking on text. And notice when I right-click on an image or text, I don't have that option to change that background. So I'm going to aim for this blank space here, and now I see my options of changing the background. So here I am, now I have a bunch of options here, apply layout, change theme. I'm gonna focus on changing the background though. Got a couple of options here. You can choose from any of these solid colors, you can make custom colors, or you could choose from any of these pre-selected gradients or any of the custom gradients. Another thing that some people really enjoy doing is making the background an image. You can do so by uploading an image of your choice. You can take a picture with the camera. You can upload from Google Photos, Google Drive, or you could even search for images. One thing that I will caution you with in terms of the Google image search directly from Google Slides, it's not going to give you every single option of something that you're looking for, as opposed to you maybe opening an image in a new tab. So I'm going to demonstrate how this would work. Let's say I wanted to change my background image to something involving ecosystems. And what I typically do is I like to look up desktop background because it's typically the right size. So let's say I wanted to do something involving ecosystems, and I like this as a cool wallpaper. So let's say I wanted to use this image as my background. Again, if I was on a PC, I would right click, or if I was on a Mac, I would click with 2 fingers. I'm going to save this image. You can name it if you want, but I'm just quick to drag it. So as you can see, the downloaded image is here. I'm going to click and hold. I'm going to drag till the screen turns blue, and voila, my background image is there. All right. Let's say, ew, I don't like that background image, or ew, I don't like how I revised the font or changed the size of something. This button right here, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be your best friend. That's the undo button. You can click that button, or you can press Control Z if you are a PC user, or Command Z if you are a Mac user. And then my background is back to normal. Changing the background really can kind of boost the engagement. I always feel like making slides visually appealing is something that's going to capture students' attention. All right, the next thing we have is adding/editing text boxes. Of course, we want to add words onto our slideshow. We don't want to overwhelm our students with a bunch of words, but of course you need titles or labels or captions. Remember, you can choose from any of these templates if you're making slides, or let's say if you wanted to add a new slide and you wanted to be in charge of where that text box is, we'll pretend that this doesn't exist. You're going to go up here where it says text box, or you could also go to insert text box. Either way it works. From there, when you click on that, you should see this kind of, I guess, perpendicular lines icon. You're going to click and hold to be able to draw that text box line. From there, you can type whatever it is that you want. And you can also edit the size of your font, the type of font, the color of your font. You can add highlight colors, underline, italicize, bold, pretty much all of these right here. So let's say I wanted to change the size of my font and the style of my font. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the text that I've typed and I'm going to double click until every word is highlighted. I also have the option of clicking just the box itself which will automatically select every word within that box. From there, if I wanted to change my font, I could do that. If I wanted to make my font bigger or smaller, I could do that. If I wanted to bold these icons, bold the font, italicize my font, underline the font, I have all those choices here. I can also change the color of my font. And lastly, I can also add a highlighter if I felt like it was something that was important. All right. This is also useful for, we'll talk about the creation process in a second, but maybe instead of typing something already, you want to leave the space for students to type their answers. Leaving a text box like this is very helpful for them to do so. Like I said, you've also got a couple options over here. You can add a border to your text box that kind of draws a bit more attention to it. What I like to do is darken my borders with this button right here. It draws even more attention to it. Or if you want your background text, this is going to look really ugly because all I'm doing is just clicking one thing. I would never combine those colors together. But you can see I can also add a background color for that text. Again, let's say I make a oopsie whoopsie. How can I go back? This button right here is my friend. That is the undo button. You also, like I said, keyboard shortcuts are very quick. So I'm going to do Command Z. All right. You also can insert word art that is similar to text, but this is a bit more fancy. So I'm going to press this insert button here. I'm going to go to word art. Let's say the title of my presentation was ecosystems. From there, now I've got some what I call bubble letters. All right. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. So let's say I want to fill color here. That means I want my text to appear as a different color. I'm going to give it a nice black border, and I'm going to make that border weight a bit thicker so it sticks out. I've also got several options here, just like I did for regular text, where I can choose a font. I'm a big Lucky Sky fan. Can you tell I'm an elementary teacher? I really like how this font looks, and now I've got a beautiful eye-catching title slide. All right. Since this is just my sandbox and I'm just playing around, I'm going to delete this slide, and we're going to go ahead and move on. Now, if you find that what I am saying is familiar to you, please feel free to fast forward until you find something that is not familiar to you, or to fast forward until we start the creation process. I want this to be something of use to you and want to make the most of your time as possible. Time is a non-renewable resource, and so I want to make the most of it. The next thing we're going to talk about is inserting images and multimedia. To insert images, you've got a couple of options. You can either find an image outside of Google Slides and copy and paste it into your slideshow, or you can insert an image directly from some options here on Google Slides. Same thing with multimedia. Let's start the easy way. Let's say I don't want this to be my background, but I do want to add that to my slide. I would either right-click or click with both fingers. I'm going to click Copy Image. I'm going to go back to my slideshow. I'm going to click somewhere where there is blank white space. Same thing, either right-click or click with two fingers, and I'm going to press Paste. Obviously, from there, this is a very big image. I can click and drag to resize it. Really, you're going to want to pay attention to these diagonal resizing. If you stretch here or make thin there, you're really going to kind of distort the image, and you don't want to do that. All right, so that is one way that you can insert an image. You can also insert an image directly from the Google Slides page, clicking Insert, Image, and you've got several options. If you have something saved in your Google Photos, something saved in your Google Drive, if you quickly want to pose for a picture and you have webcam capabilities, you can click on that camera button. You can also, upload from the computer, or you can search from the web, again, using those Google images. Like I said, you're not going to find everything here. If you were to look at ecosystems in a new tab, for whatever reason, you're going to find more. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can't find an image that you don't want to use. And this might be something that you want to teach your students because it's kind of a quick one-stop shop way of doing things. But as a teacher, I know sometimes we get picky for particular graphics or charts or images we want to use. So I encourage you to open a new tab, find the exact image you're looking for, and insert it that way. Besides inserting pictures, you also have the opportunity with Google Slides to insert multimedia. This could be something like a GIF or a video. I'm going to play around with this insert video option. Let's say I was doing stations and I wanted to insert a 10-minute timer. This is a very commonly used feature by myself. I can insert this timer right here. So I can either double click or press insert, and I can resize this. If I wanted to place it in the corner here, and let's say I had my directions and my center rotations right here, when I'm in the slideshow, I can say, all right, any questions before we begin? All right. Then I can click and I can start the timer. Really cool, right? Let's say I didn't need a timer and I wanted to find something else. Let's say I was trying to find or create, a hub of resources. And I'm also a math teacher. I teach everything because I'm an elementary teacher. But say I wanted to make a slideshow all about multiplying fractions. Let's say I had a Google Drive video on multiplying fractions. These are a bunch of videos of my kids. But let's say I had a video where I recorded a lesson on multiplying fractions. I could insert that video there. If I wanted to go back and let's say I could look at YouTube. Okay. And let's say I haven't watched this, so I highly, how do I say this? I do not recommend just blindly picking videos. You never know what you're going to find. So obviously, you all are teachers. You know you should watch everything before you share it with your kids. So let's say I like this video, though, and I wanted to include it in a presentation. Now this is a beautiful blended resource where kids can access this and complete asynchronous work. Say, you're pulling small groups and you need kids to do something while they're waiting to be pulled. You've got a slideshow with videos up there where students can access that information that they may have missed or that they may need a refresher on. In the past, I've also made slideshows for kids that were absent or were out of class whenever we did something. I know lots of times during our virtual learning times with the pandemic, I recorded many quick clips of lessons. And so these are all videos that I can reuse later on. So that is inserting images and multimedia. The next thing we're going to talk about, and the last thing that we're going to talk about before we really talk about the design process, is inserting internal and external links. We're first going to start with an external link. Typically, when I'm talking about inserting a link, I'm talking about inserting a spot where students or anyone that interacts with this slideshow will click on something and it will take them somewhere outside of where it is that they're going to go. Say I wanted kids to view an article from CNN 10, and if I believe correctly, they're going to say, oh, this is not back until August 15th. So let's pretend that the video for today is May 27th. I'm going to quickly pause this so we don't hear it. By the way, social studies teachers, CNN 10 is a great way to incorporate current events in your classroom. So highly recommend. Let's say I wanted kids to watch a CNN 10 video as a part of exploring a slideshow on their own. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this link. I can also use the keyboard shortcut Control-C on a desktop, like a PC computer, or I can use Command-C keyboard shortcut for a Mac. From there, let's say instead of link text, I'm going to say click here to watch today's CNN 10 video. And this looks crazy, so I'm going to kind of expand it a little bit. All right, I'm going to highlight where this says click here, and I've got a couple options. All right, I can do my 2-finger click or my right click, and I can click this link button here, or like I said, I'm a keyboard shortcut freak. All right, so I have a Mac. I'm going to press Command K. If you have a PC, you're going to press Control K. And from there, I can now paste the link to that video and watch this. It links, all right? Or if I'm in my slideshow view, click here, and it takes me right there. Really amazing. I never, ever, ever, now that you know this, ladies and gentlemen, I never, ever, ever want you to press a messy link ever again. What does a messy link look like? this is, oh, I can't handle it. It takes up so much room. It's ugly. It's not very good. So don't forget that you are able now to customize that text and insert links this way. This would be an example of inserting an external link, okay? You could also link an image or an icon. So let's say maybe I wanted to make things a bit fancy, all right? And I wanted to copy this picture of Carl Azouz. So I'm going to copy this image. I'm going to paste it in my presentation. And let's say I wanted to say, click the image to watch today's CNN 10 video. All right. I can do the same thing with this image. So rather than clicking on words, I can click the image. I can go to insert, link, or I can keyboard shortcut Command K or Control K, and I can insert the same link, and boom. Now when I click on the picture, it gives me an option to access that link, and it also works on or in my slideshow presentation mode. All right, I'll try and close out all these tabs. Okay, that would be how an external link works. The next thing I'm going to talk about is internal links. Did you know that the hyperlink, forgive me as I undo a million times, did you know that each time I change the slide on my Google Slides presentation, the link to the presentation changes? I want you to pay attention to this box right here where my cursor is highlighting. Watch as I change slides. Did you see that? This number here on the end changes. So let's say in my learning management system like Google Classroom or Canvas or Seesaw, I wanted to direct kids to a specific slide within my slideshow. I could copy this specific link and watch. It takes me directly to that slide rather than to the beginning of a presentation. When I'm navigating using external links, I also have the option to create learning journeys within my slideshow. So let's say I had a choice board and I wanted to say, click here to learn the lattice strategy of multiplication, or click here to learn the standard algorithm strategy of multiplication. And let's say I had different slides within my slideshow that had resources on this. I'll be able to show this in greater detail with some of my examples here in a few minutes. But as I said, you can change the link based on next slide, first slide, or you can choose custom slides. So we're going to pretend that slide 12 talks about lattice. So I'm going to copy this. Again, keyboard shortcuts are my friend when I'm in edit mode here. And let's say that, this particular slide that I've copied the link to is going to take me on the journey to lattice, all right? So remember, if I did this correctly, we're gonna pretend that this slide that says back to our focus question should be the one that pops up. Are you ready? So let's see. Click here to learn the lattice strategy of multiplication, or in this case, click here to go back to our focus question. Boom, here we are, all right? So remember, each time I change a slide, look up here, pay attention. Each time I change a slide, the link itself changes. Really, really cool, all right? This is especially is helpful when you're making hyperdocs. And not to plug myself, but I am going to plug myself for a second. I have another session here through NCBOLD that's all about hyperdocs. And I'm really going to go into a much deeper dive in how to use Google Slides and hyperdocs and interactive Google Slides within that presentation. All right, so those are our basic functions. So let's review what we talked about. We talked about choosing from templates and layouts, how to create a new presentation. Don't forget you can name your presentation here. When you are using PowerPoint, it is important that you consistently back up your work and you save it. Best thing about Google, You don't have to do that. As you can see, it says my last edit was seconds ago, and it saves that version history each time. If I wanted to maybe restore a previous version, say as a teacher, I accidentally shared my slideshow and I gave the students editing rights and I didn't mean to, and I wanted to resort back to a particular version, I would click which version it was that I wanted to resort back to. I'm not going to do that right now because this slideshow took me several weeks to prepare and I'm terrified I'm going to mess it up. So we talked about choosing from templates and layouts. We talked about changing the background, either using gradient, solid colors, or images. We talked about adding and editing text boxes and inserting word art. We also talked about inserting images and videos or other forms of multimedia. And we talked about inserting links and how you can use links internally within your slideshow or to link things that are external. All right, so let's return back to our focus question. How can teachers and instructional staff use presentation software to take students on learning journeys, compile resources for study, expand student choice, and boost engagement and collaboration? Let's break down each of these options. The first thing we're going to talk about is how we can compile resources. I call this a study hub. This slide that we're getting ready to view is one that I have linked within this slideshow using a screenshot of the slide. You should remember how to do that based on what I've taught you. If not, you can rewind. This is one slide of a much bigger slideshow and what I call a study hub. And as you can see, this is all about multiplying whole numbers. So what I've given the students access to is a variety of different assignments. If you're missing the notes, you're going to copy these down. You guys, this is a picture of notes that we took in class. I made this prior to the pandemic, so if I were to edit this, what I could now do is include videos of myself teaching each of these different strategies. And remember, I did that through the insert video feature. And as you can see, these are YouTube videos, but I can also insert videos and images from my Google Drive or from anywhere really on the internet. Lastly, I give my students one final assignment. I go to join.99math.com and enter the game code to practice your math skills. This is a great resource, a nice little study hub for students to use if you want them to build student agency. We talk about all the time voice and choice and what students are learning. As I said, this was a part of a much bigger presentation where I let students pick which of these topics on an upcoming NC check-in was one that they struggled with. So let's say it wasn't multiplying whole numbers, that they struggled with dividing whole numbers. I've linked that specific slide to that text. Remember, I taught you how to do that because each of the slides in this slideshow have a different link. All right, so let's say they want to go back to the home page. I linked the text to the home page slide, and here we are. Let's say I wanted to look at multiplying fractions. I have the same thing here. When they are finished, this is really when we get to the Hyperdoc part of my different session. So they had a nice little reflection activity to choose from for there. So that is the first way that you can be really creative with your slideshow presentations is you can compile resources within a study hub. I did this by inserting text boxes with the topic, with certain directions, and inserting images of our notes, as well as videos I got from the internet that explain how to solve these kinds of problems. Another example of Study Hub is something that I made for science. So I copied and pasted a picture of notebook paper that I got off of Google, and I went ahead and I made a chart. In terms of making charts like these, I go into this a lot more in my Hyperdoc session, but if you want a preview on how to make something like this, you're going to go to Insert, Table, and then from there you can choose what you want your table to look like. Just like with your text boxes, you can change the border color and outline depth. You can change the background color. You can add text, all sorts of stuff. All right. More on that, though, in my Hyperdoc session. So this particular study hub was for science. It was on producers, consumers, and decomposers. Remember, see how it jumped directly from the title to this particular slide? That is because I made sure I copied this exact link in my presentation. So if I were to share this with the students, it would go directly there, and they wouldn't have to worry about shuffling through a bunch of slides and figuring out which one they needed to be on. So students here, I have a couple options. They can either review the notes or maybe copy them in their notebook if they were missing them. They can click on this thumbnail here to watch a video that I made talking about producers, consumers, and decomposers. We're not going to play it, obviously, because it's 10 minutes long. If you've not used Loom before, I love the app Smash. I know I'm technically only supposed to be talking about Google Slides, but Loom and Screencastify are all great ways to record your screen and record yourself as well. And then I've also got a link here. I took a screenshot of a game, an online game, so that it says click the image to play the game. And now students can play a game where I believe this is sorting producers, consumers, and decomposers, or maybe even building a food chain. I can't remember. So it's just sorting. So a cat consumes other living things, gets energy from other living things, so that is a consumer. Grass is a producer, so on and so forth. So like I said, again, a study hub, this is a great way if you're looking for kids to have opportunities to build student agency, to really incorporate voice and choice in your classroom, or maybe this is even a station where kids can complete asynchronously at their desk while you're pulling small groups or getting other things done. Also a great resource to access if kids are at home preparing for a test or a quiz or some sort of other assessment. All right, so Study Hub. Oops, I was like, what is this? I'm in the wrong presentation. There we go. All right, so I've got option one, compile resources in the form of a study hub. The next one is expanding student choice using choice boards. This is a great way to allow students to choose what it is that they work on. It's not something as complicated as a Hyperdoc. It's something as simple as me adding some word art, a nice background that connects with the season, and app smashing and inserting links, which I taught you how to do, where kids can choose what it is that they work on. Lots of times my choice boards here, what I call my early finishing activities. Are you finished? That's great. Make a choice from the choice board, because as a teacher, we know not everybody's going to finish at the same time. You need to keep these kids entertained and occupied. Otherwise, you're in for quite a headache. This is when I like to use other apps like Quizzes or Flipgrid or a Google slideshow where they can create a museum exhibit. I've also used Bookits in the past, and Epic, which is a great free website. It's kind of like the Netflix for books. I assembled all sorts of expository text and nonfiction books on all the things that we've studied in science all year. So again, it's just a quick way. They can pull this up. They've got a bunch of choices. All it takes, guys, is one click. We don't want kids. I don't know how to get here. My Canvas won't load. What's the link again? Can you put it back up? Can you change the slide so I can get that link? What's the bit.ly link? How do you spell that? You're just linking them right there. And again, I taught you how to insert links that way. These are what I would refer to as my external links, as they are taking me outside of the slideshow onto a new website or app. The next thing is my Hyperdoc Preview. I'm going to go way, way, way more in depth on Hyperdocs in my standalone Hyperdoc session and interactive workshop. So I highly encourage you to view that video as well. You can take kids on learning journeys through Hyperdocs. What are Hyperdocs? They're essentially interactive documents. I've got several examples, but I wanted to try and cover as many content areas as possible. This is a very, very simple Hyperdoc I made on the 3 branches of government. As you can see, it's saved as a template, as I've shared it on Google Classroom before, as well as Canvas too. It says you may type directly in this document. A copy has already been made for you. If you use Google Classroom or if you use Canvas, don't forget when you're sharing Hyperdocs involving Google Slides that you click whatever option that allows that learning management system to make a copy for each individual student. There are also some Hyperdocs that you may want kids collaborating on together, but that's completely up to you. All right. One thing about Hyperdocs, you're going to want to leave them in edit mode, especially if you want kids to interact with the material in some way, whether they're typing responses, dragging and dropping and sorting things. You're going to want them to leave it in this mode and not click that slideshow image. So it says you may type directly in the document. So in the boxes below, And number one, what's one thing you know about the national government? If kids want to answer that question, they double click and they start typing. Same thing with number two and number three. All right. And then, as with any Hyperdoc, I have next steps for them. So notice I've tried to make things in a particular order. If we're doing something together, I make sure to write, this is what we're doing together, versus this is what you're going to do alone. So it says review and interact with the resources in the following links, and then answer the questions on the following slide. So external links, these are links that are going to take me to articles somewhere else. And then let's say I read about the executive branch and I have to write about it. I can click back on my slideshow and I can type here and I can answer these questions. This is a very simple version of a Hyperdoc. Really all I did, guys, was utilize those features that I taught you about. I wanted to change the background to something that caught their eye. I wanted to organize information in text boxes that could be clearly edited. And I also wanted kids to navigate external links in ways that were simple. I didn't copy that ugly link, right? This www.3 brand or the vocabulary or whatever that is. I typed here and I double clicked and I inserted the link directly that way so it would take me there. The next one is for math. It's a bit more interactive and it involves coordinate planes. So I just highlighted a particular slide. So it says start here, fill in the blanks below by deleting the lines and typing the numbers in the box below. So to plot the apple, we need to move blank units across the x-axis and blank units up the y-axis. As a fifth grade teacher, I was caught by surprise with how complicated some of what we call those technology enhanced questions were on our intergrade test. This is a perfect way to be able to practice those skills. If I'm plotting the apple and I want students to be able to tell me what that ordered pair is, they're now able to type this in. So I'm going to start at the origin. It looks like I need to move 2 units across the x-axis. I'm going to double click that line and change it to 2. And I'm going to double click this line and change it to 8. And then I can do the same thing for the banana. I've also got in here options where they can type ordered pairs. And yep, I do believe, here it is. I've got options where they can actually click and drag the fruit icons at the bottom to their correct location on the coordinate plane. So I've got my grapes that wants them to plot at 3, 7. I'm going to click and drag. I need to start at the origin. I'll go across to the 3, up to the 7, and bam, there I have it. All right. Which button is your best friend? Undo. I'm going to press that till that grape gets back to where it needs to be, and also until my blanks return to the way that they need to be. Again, this is a very abbreviated version. If you're like, oh my gosh, how would I make something like that? Hyperdoc, Hyperdoc, Hyperdoc. Make sure you access the link to that session. All right, continuing on. So that was our Hyperdoc preview. The last thing is engagement and collaboration. And these are really examples that are super immersive and, to be quite honest, are super advanced and were not things that I really had the capability to do my very first year of teaching. As I head into my 6th year of teaching, these are things that I've had more experience with, my students have had more experience with, and therefore we've had a lot of success with. Getting kids to engage, to boost, or let me back that up, getting kids to collaborate and boosting engagement with fun themes is really what I'm all about, and Google Slides is the perfect avenue to blend that instruction. Let's say I wanted kids to complete a jigsaw and I have them viewing 3D models of artifacts, and they're going to be able to view these based on a website that I've shared with them, and be able to write about what it is that they're viewing, make predictions about what the tool may have been used for, and things like that. I've also got this template here with a logo you may be familiar with of a popular game show, The Amazing Race. I've been able to share view-only copies of this slideshow, and I was able to blend some assessment prep. So I was actually able to get kids to be able to, let me skip to the good part, view problems and answer questions. So I actually gave them an artifact sheet, a hard copy paper with some boxes where they could work out each individual problem, and they raced their classmates. I put them into teams, and I broke apart different questions with some physical tasks involving math. This one, it said, Have one group member do 20 jumping jacks before moving to the next slide. The rest of the team will count by 5s to 100 as their teammate jumps. These were questions that I got from SchoolNet, which is a very popular assessment builder we use here in our district. Not sure how many other people use that in the state of North Carolina, but remember, you can get questions from anywhere. Or if you felt like you really wanted to recreate the wheel, don't forget you can insert text boxes and type questions from there. But if I were y'all, I'd be finding some questions on some already made assessments and copying and pasting. But that's just me. All right. Again, fun, immersive, engaging activities made simple because of Google Slides. Y'all, this took only the actual assessment building part, and copying and pasting these questions took no time. The only thing that took me forever was I'm very picky about icons and backgrounds, but maybe that's something that you all can help me get over. All right, and I've also got things like a graffiti gist. Don't know if you've ever heard of it, but giving each group, a different battle for the Civil War. These were all links that the kids could click on and read articles about. And I've got the directions right here. And I inserted my little timer in the background as well, which is something that I talked about the importance of. If you want to keep kids on a time limit on track, something really cool that I encourage. The last thing I'm going to talk about with slides is, believe it or not, you can actually use slides for something other than slides. So I love using Google Slides when I have to make something a bit more abstract, or as teachers know, we got to fit a lot on a little bit of paper that we're only allotted. And Google Slides seems like the most friendly tool to do that. I will say I have not played with the new Google Doc feature. And for whatever reason, the name slips me right now, but I think they have now created a mode that's a lot more user-friendly in terms of it's not very picky if you want to put a box of text here and a picture there and word art here. It used to be so finicky that you couldn't get anything done. And when I found out that I could change the orientation of things and quickly insert word art and text boxes and things like that and make interactive worksheets like this, Google Slides was forever what I used. You're familiar with how slideshows look, kind of this landscape feature. I did want to show you, oops, come on. I did want to show you a way in which you can build slideshows, excuse me, not slideshows, but worksheets using Google Slides. So right now it's in a slideshow template. If you were to print this, portions of it may be cut off, portions of it may be incomplete, it may print distorted. So what you're going to do before you do anything else is you're going to go to File, you're going to go to Page Setup, and instead of widescreen here, you're going to click on Custom. Let's say I wanted a sideways, a horizontal, or landscape piece of paper. I'm going to change my orientation or my measurements here to 11 by 8.5, and that's a sideways piece of paper. Let's say I wanted a vertical piece of paper, similar to what I have here for my theme guided notes, which we're able to put in our interactive notebooks. I would do the same thing, File, Page Setup, but I would just flip-flop those values underneath Custom, and I would make it 8.5 by 11. Now, like I said, Google Docs now has a feature where it looks like you can do stuff like this, but I'm going to stick with Google Slides because it's what I know. Maybe next year for NCBOLD, I can figure out Google Docs. All right. So from there, I can do all the things that I taught you. I can insert text boxes, word art, images, anything it is that you want to do. So I've been able to use this to make guided notes, assessments, graphic organizers, interactive notebook templates. Inserting shapes has really helped me as a math teacher. Been able to partition circles perfectly, well, near perfectly, that's kind of not very perfect, but into halves and fourths, making Frayer models, making boxes that we're going to partition, or number lines. These are all things that I've been able to make thanks to Google Slides. These are actually the finished copy, so this is the template, and this is what they look like inside of our notebook. I really hope that this session was very helpful to you, and you have left with the ability now to pimp your slides and to think about how you can use Google Slides or any other presentation software to go beyond our simple, plain presentation. It's a way to capture kids' attention. It's a way to boost engagement, to assemble resources that are easy to access, and to just take learning to the next level. I'm going to go back to the title slide here. My name is Matt Daniel. It was really nice to be able to share with you all. Here's the bit.ly link, and I hope you were able to get something out of this session. Best of luck pimping your slides.